It's received about 6,000 applications from the arts and culture sector for assistance during the COVID-19 lockdown. Thousands have been left without an income as production houses have been forced to shut. Live shows and other events have also been cancelled, but the Arts and Culture Department says most of the applications that it's received for help have not met the criteria. Jack Devnarain is from the SA Guild of Actors. He joins us via Skype this afternoon. Jack, a very good afternoon to you. Great to have you on the programme. So we've got this news from the Arts and Culture Minister about how the bulk of applications for COVID-19 relief have not met the criteria. I want to go back a few days, though. The Labour and Employment Minister saying that freelancers, which is how most people in the media and entertainment space work, do not qualify for UIF relief. I would imagine that makes the prospects more bleak for people such as yourself.
I think this is a problem that goes back many, many years, Timikile. We've always known as actors, as freelancers, that we are not protected by labour laws. And we have been trying to petition the Department of Employment and Labour for many years now to try to get them to expand the scope of labour laws so that the constitutional rights, at the very least, of freelancers can be protected. But of course, the Minister's announcement a few days ago was no surprise to us. What is of concern, though, is the fact that freelancers in our sector are left not only without an income due to the lockdown, but without any income relief. And it seems that we are now being abandoned to try and hopefully try and get some relief in the form of charity. And to us, that's simply unforgivable. It's a blatant and unforgivable oversight by governments to have an entire sector of tax-paying people who work within the industry who are simply left to their own devices, hoping that something will drop from the heavens above.
And you mentioned legal protections for artists and crew. When you listen to that same briefing by the Labour Minister, he did say that this opens up an opportunity for, he said, a possible relook at legislative amendments as well as debate around the issue. Does that give you any promise that things might change for people such as yourself?
We'd like to remind the Minister that it was a memorandum issued by himself. In fact, in November last year, it was the Minister who indicated his intention to the Government Gazette to deem freelancers in the film, television and theatre production sector to be employees under certain provisions of labour laws. That process has already begun. SAGA was one of many organisations, including the United Association of South Africa, which is a union, FEDUSA, which is a labour federation, had all made submissions well within the February deadline. And in fact, there was a subsequent meeting at NEDLAC where there was an industry engagement about that very debate that the Minister mentioned a few days ago. So we'd like to take this opportunity to remind the Minister that the debate he thought is such a wonderful idea is in fact happening.
To the Arts and Culture Minister then, he has spoken in the last 12 hours or so about the COVID-19 relief fund. 150 million rand was set aside for people involved in sport and the media and entertainment industry. He says, given the latest numbers, that the department has received about 5,000 COVID-19 relief applications. 1,000 have been overseen. But here's the problem. Only 105 approved and are being processed for payment. That is a drop in the ocean, isn't it?
It's certainly one of the problems. Let's take it back to Mikile. When the Minister made his announcement in a public statement on the 25th of March, he specified that he'll be looking only to offer compensation and income relief to those people who were involved in productions that were cancelled. Now, in this freelance industry, it is a very rare thing to have somebody issue you a notice to say it's been cancelled. Most productions were postponed indefinitely. So, of course, there were 6,000 applications received. The Minister made sure the deadline was on the 6th of April. But the Minister only announced his adjudication panel more than 10 days later. So you're talking about Friday the 17th of April when the adjudication panel was announced. And here we are sitting on the 2nd of May looking at a statement that says that only 105 applications have been processed. We are getting nowhere fast. And in fact, people are desperate enough right now to want to return to work, even when safety regulations for our industry have not yet been approved, because what are we faced with? No income relief, or starvation, we'd rather go back to work and take our chances right now.
And let's talk about the people you work for, Jack, or you work for the production houses, for TV channels. Are they coming to the party at this difficult time? Because, again, to the point that you were making about how the wording around the criteria, things like you have to show proof that the project that you were signed up for has indeed been cancelled, becomes tricky in terms of the adjudication. So are channels and production houses doing their bit to help you?
It's relative. It's a difficult answer because at the very beginning, on the 25th of March, the minister also mentioned that we will be asking broadcasters to try and prioritize local content, music, presumably, as well as audiovisual content, so that South African performers can be paid. That has not happened. So it's difficult to work out whether it's the decision on channels, the broadcasters that have chosen the strategy. I'm sure they have good reasons. But we are not seeing a lot of these strategies actually being operational, and that means people are not being paid. Some productions, for example, I remember it was widely reported that even during the lockdown, Uzalo, as a local soapie, was classified by the CIPC as an essential service. It didn't seem to be the case for all soapies, but certainly the SABC had supported that move. Fortunately, I think before lockdown or safety regulations for returning to work actually came out, the SABC decided to pull back on that. But there doesn't seem to be a uniform attempt by broadcasters or channels to say, we are going to take responsibility up to this point, and beyond that, we are going to ask production companies to start implementing safety regulations. Yes, people need to return to work, but we need to do it safely, and there needs to be clarity, not only about the strategy, but who's going to pick up the bill for all the additional safety regulations that must come into play.
Jack Devnarain from the SA Guild of Actors, thank you so much for speaking to us, and all of the best as you try to get more of those protections and relief for entertainers and cast, crew, makeup artists and everyone else involved in the making of many of the productions that you enjoy on South African screens.